Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Now, I got to tell you, I've been meaning to do this video for some time now. I'm fascinated by what I believe is a new trend, and what I believe is a trend that's been started by our Chinese friends, which is number 8 steel nibs. The beauty of number 8 steel nibs, first of all, it gives you that big juicy nib that we're all appearing to like. It's not unanimous, and some people don't like the fact that you have this big nib. It's further away from the paper, and others prefer standard number 6 size nibs. But I got to tell you, it's more and more become popular. It started, I believe, with HONGDIAN, and we have now HONGDIAN, we have JINHAO, we have MAJOHN, we have Vincenzo, we have ASVINE, and they've kicked it off. You have number 8 steel nibs, making the pen affordable. And now Leonardo's jumped on the bandwagon. So all of a sudden, a gold nibbed Leonardo pen will cost you $700-800. A Yowo steel nib number 6 will cost you maybe $300 or $200. And now you have the number 8 steel nib, and your pen is anywhere between 3 and 4. So it makes some of these exciting Leonardo pens all of a sudden affordable. Same goes with the GRAVITAS Monster. It's going for what, $350, $380 with a beautiful, beautiful engineered pen, but it's got a steel nib, a number 8 steel nib, that in my view makes it affordable. If it was a conid with a gold nib, well, all of a sudden it cost $1,000. So there you have it. I think that, it's a trend, and I would not be surprised that other pen makers jump on the bandwagon. But put it this way, even if they don't, I'm enjoying all these number 8 steel nibs. And what I plan to do in this review is I'm going to review them all and then maybe declare my top 10, and we'll go from 10 to number 1 and my overall winner. So stay tuned. Fountain Pen Therapy presents the new trendy number 8 steel nib. Okay, so we're back. We're going to take a look at some pens now, and we'll do some writing and do some comparisons. Now, forewarning, with all comparisons, it's very difficult to do an all-encompassing, comprehensive comparison, because that requires that you have sometimes every single model, every single size of nib, and it's not always possible. I have quite a few, I've got to tell you, but I may be missing some, and I will mention it when I do not have a certain size nib in any particular model. The other heads up is always, if we're going to do a kind of a scientific comparison, you need to use the same paper, and you need to use the same ink, which will not be the case, I'm telling you right now. So forewarning, I know some of you might say you can't do a comparison with the same, but I'm not going to ink or re-ink, wash and re-ink almost I would say to you, about 40 pens, okay, for this exercise. I want to have some fun doing it, so you will allow me that non-scientific approach. I think you will still get a pretty good idea of what's out there in the market, especially for some of you who are just beginning, and to try to take a look at this phenomenon, which I think is a trend in the market, and a trend that's been started, as I mentioned, I think, by the Chinese market. So without any further ado, let's go. I'm going to go through some of the pens and give you an Excel sheet which gives you some of the details, etc., and we'll go over that, okay, with various information. So we're starting off with the HONGDIAN. Here they are. These are all fine. I don't own an extra fine, as I mentioned, but here you are, the three in the black, and you've got the three fines in the silver plating. So these are our HONGDIAN contestants. So the first thing we'll do, let me just pull up my Excel sheet here, and we'll try to put it on the screen as well when I do some of the editing. But let's cut to the, here we go. Now, first off is the HONGDIAN number 8 size nib. I'm not sure they were the first, but I believe they were, okay? But I could be wrong on that. And we're looking at the HONGDIAN, first model is the HONGDIAN N10, which is, my view, just an absolutely gorgeous model of a pen. But let's concentrate on the nib. The nib, here it is. I believe it only comes, with this N10, it only comes in black. Okay, and you will see that the silver version of this was introduced with the next model. It does have an ink window. It is a piston filler. So let's do some writing right off the bat with this. Now, here's where I need to warn you. I only have fine for these HONGDIAN nibs. Unfortunately, I do not have the extra fine. They only come in extra fine and fine. The colors that you saw there are the colors that they come in. I noticed that this N10 may not be readily available anymore. I had difficulty finding it either on Amazon or on AliExpress. It may be available elsewhere, but not easily available from what I can see. And as I mentioned, it is a piston filler with a small kind of a porthole, sort of a ink window. So let's start. This is the HONGDIAN N10, and it is a fine nib. Now, some of the characteristics. I think it's fairly stiff, smooth, but with some feedback. Kind of a sticky feedback, if you know what I mean. Let me just close that up just a little tiny bit here. Yeah, kind of a feedback that kind of sticks, you know, and just step back because I noticed my camera was kind of having problems focusing. Yeah, so smooth feedback, fairly consistent, I would say to you. Okay, so it's constant in terms of flow. And medium wet. It's not a gusher, but it is, you know, it's a nice writing experience. In terms of line variation, I would say you can kind of push it a bit, but there's not much line variation. It just darker ink flow, I would say to you. Okay, so that's the HONGDIAN N10. And if we take a look at its sister pen, which is the HONGDIAN, what I've noticed over time is that sometimes the black nibs do write differently from, either the silver or gold. And this is the A9. Again, it's a fine nib. And I can tell you that this silver-coated or silver-plated nib is less stiff, but still fairly rigid. Okay, again, it's the same smooth but sticky feedback. It's kind of, the flow is slightly impeded, but it's fairly constant. I mean, I don't have hard start issues. I would say it's a medium wet. And you can see that it has a lot more spring to and more line variation than its black counterpart. Okay, so that's for HONGDIAN. Now, both of these pens, I don't know what the price of this one here is. It's a question mark just because I haven't been able to find any. This one here is going for roughly 37 Canadian. Okay, so that's HONGDIAN. Now, let's put that aside. Okay, so the next number 8 size nibs are the JINHAOs. Okay, I have a series of JINHAOs. First of all, we have the JINHAO 9019. Now, this JINHAO, I would say to you, comes in many colors. You see some solid colors there. You see demo or kind of demo-like shapes. It has that beautiful large converter. It runs between $10 and $20 Canadian, depending on the week and depending on the vendor. And it comes in extra fine, fine, medium. And there are third-party grinds out there that have turned some of those nibs into stubs and even flex nibs, I would say to you, but that don't come with the actual JINHAO produced product. After that, we have we'll have the 1935, which again has that large converter. Okay, it comes in different colors in the sense that the cap has different colors, and the barrel is always, I believe, demo. Large converter, again, the same type of size nibs. No, I believe the 1935 only comes in fine and medium, and it's the sword nib. And we'll take a look at that in a second. And it runs between, fine and medium, runs between $12 and $18 Canadian. Then we have the X159. The X159, first of all, it's a standard converter. It comes in many colors. Most of them, I believe, if not all of them, are solid colors. It comes in extra fine, fine, and medium. And it's roughly between $10 and $12 Canadian. Then there's also a heartbeat nib, and we'll take a look at that in a second, which some models offer as an alternative nib. And that heartbeat nib comes in extra fine, fine, and medium. And then the nibs are also used by other pens, like this big red pen with the Mike Green hack that turns it into a number 8 sized section and uses standard JINHAO number 8 nibs, anywhere between extra fine, fine, and medium. And this big mystery titanium pen also uses JINHAO number 8 nibs. And there may be others out there, but those are the ones I have for you. So without any further ado, what we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the some of those nib sizes and see how they perform. Okay, here are the JINHAO contestants, if you will. You've got your extra fine here. You've got a fine there. You've got a standard medium. That's a medium stubbed. It's been just modified. You've got your heartbeat in the medium, and you've got the sword branded medium with the 1935. So here are our JINHAO contestants. Okay, so we're back with the JINHAOs. Now, I think with the JINHAOs, you'll notice fairly quickly the difference between the JINHAO nibs and the HONGDIAN nibs. I would say to you that the JINHAO nibs are a lot wetter, thicker than the HONGDIAN. So let's start with the, and I will pull the nibs from various models. This is the JINHAO X159, and it has an extra fine Now, the extra fine is similar to the HONGDIAN to the extent that it is, well, it has a little more bounce, but still fairly stiff. It has smooth, but once again, sticky feedback. It's fairly constant. And I would say to you that for an extra fine, it is fairly wet. Okay. So does it give you some line variation? Just a little bit, because you can squeeze some out of it, but it is an extra fine. Okay. Now, as we get to the bigger sizes or the wider sizes, this one is a fine. Okay, so this is in a JINHAO (9019). This is a fine, and right away you can tell that although fairly stiff, it's much smoother than the HONGDIAN. Okay, little feedback. Fairly constant. But it's very wet. For a fine, I would say to you that it's almost writing like a medium. Okay? Fairly wet. So that's the fine. Now let me just flip that and go to the next page. Okay. The next one I have for you is the medium. Just a standard medium, because I do have a stub medium. So this is in a JINHAO X159, and it's a medium. Again, it's fairly stiff, but very smooth. Almost no feedback. It's very constant and very wet. I mean, you could push it a little bit, but I don't believe it gives you any major line variation. But it's very wet. Okay, so that's the JINHAO medium. Now I do have a JINHAO medium that's kind of been turned into kind of a stub there, you can see. So this is just the JINHAO medium nib that has a stub grind. Again, the same characteristics, except you can see some of the line variation here. So very thick coming down, almost broad, and much thinner. Okay, so it has that pleasant line variation. I believe this Bobby nib or Chinese pen, or I forget what he calls himself these days. The next one is, it's a medium, but it has the heartbeat. Sorry, my camera is not focusing properly these days. Don't know why, but yeah, it has that heartbeat slit, if you will. Okay, so this is the JINHAO heartbeat. Now, what I'm looking here to see if there is a difference, it's a little bit softer, just a bit softer, I would say to you, but not by much. Same, very similar characteristics. I would also say that it's got a little bit of a, I would say it's a thinner line than a regular medium. If you compare it right there, you see, I think it's thinner than the regular medium. So just a thinner, a little bit softer, but a thinner line. Okay, that's the heartbeat. Next one for JINHAO is this, the nib that goes with the 1935, which is a sword nib. You can see it just has a sword branded nib. This is a medium. I don't have the others, but let's see. This is the 1935 with a medium sword. Call it the sword nib. Again, very similar to standard medium nib. Is it a little bit softer? Yeah, slightly softer. Does it have the same line? I think so. Same line. But again, very wet, very smooth, constant, and virtually no feedback. The next one, I just want to show you that you can put these nibs, and I believe the JINHAO nibs may be used by other pen makers as well. You know, this is a JINHAO medium that's in this this pen, and similarly, this has a JINHAO medium as well, this titanium. There you go. So, all in all, the conclusion is that I think that the JINHAOs are a little bit wetter and thicker line than HONGDIAN. HONGDIAN is my, let me just cut. In my estimation, HONGDIAN is typical Chinese, or, you know, where they seek a thinner line, if you will, similar to the Japanese. Okay, they want a thinner line. It's not a thick, and they're not concentrating on mediums and broads and 1.1s. HONGDIAN is very thin, a little bit drier, a little stickier, a little more feedback, if you will, as compared to the JINHAO. So that's the JINHAO. Give me a few seconds, we'll go to the next brand. Okay, so for the next series of pens I have for you are the MAJOHN. It's the MAJOHN brand. Now, first of all, the MAJOHN brand, let me just check my notes here. You have the P139 that comes in 3 colors. I only have it in 2. It comes in this orange, the white, and then there's the new, or the most recent, I would call it kind of a marble, cracked ice or marble look, grayish. It comes, they're both, it comes in number 6 and number 8, but we're dealing with number 8 steel nibs, of course. It's that Sun Expedition nib that we are, or that some of us are very familiar with, and we'll get to see it in action in a few seconds. It's a piston filler, and the piston is all brass. The P139, let me just check my notes. And again, it varies from vendor to vendor, but it goes for P139 roughly $60 Canadian, and that Expedition nib comes in fine and in medium. Right at the present time, I only have mediums. I'm going to get a fine sometime soon, and we'll just add it on to this video as soon as it comes in. Okay, and we'll just do a tag on, if you will. It's any second now. The doorbell is going to ring. And the next model is the P140, which is in this demo, and I believe it comes in solid colors as well very recently. As you can see, all brass piston filler mechanism, again with that Sun Expedition nib in fine and medium. The P140, roughly $55 Canadian. Then we have the P140, the controversial, no, not P140, the P141. Controversial in the sense that people are asking why even do this pen when you've got these two. It is a cheaper version, if you will, of the P140, insofar as the piston rod is in rubber or plastic, not all in brass. It originally came with a standard Moonman number 8 steel nib, only in fine, but recently can also be found to sport, at an extra charge, that Sun Expedition nib. So there you have it. These pens, and I forget which one, I believe it was probably the P140, but maybe even the P141, came with an additional option, which is a Bach number 8 steel nib. I've put this Bach on this Ranga just to show you how it writes. Not very happy with it, I got to tell you. It was not a great success, but we'll take a look at that in a few seconds. So that is essentially the MAJOHN number 8 model pens and number 8 nibbed model pens, and we'll take a look at how they perform on paper. We're back with the MAJOHN. The MAJOHN contestants are the following. Here you have two P140s, two P141s, one with the standard Moonman fine nib, one with the Sun Expedition medium nib. Here you have the 140, the P140 with the fine, and here is the P139s that I own in the mediums. These are the 3 Sun Expedition nibs, and that's the standard Moonman nib. Here are our MAJOHN contestants. So, let's start with the... Okay, so this is the number 8. So let's start MAJOHN. And, you know, you find it either on the P139 or the P140. It comes standard. It's the number 8 Sun Expedition nib. Now, let's get closer up. This nib does have some flex to it. Not flex, but some bounce. It's extremely smooth. And it's a medium. Okay. I think it writes like a real medium, unlike maybe the JINHAO, which the medium is kind of thicker, almost on the broad. The line is true to its size. And does it have some line variation? I think it does. Take a look at that. You see how if I push it a little bit, I can definitely get a much broader line. It is very wet, but not as wet, I would say to you, as the JINHAO. Okay, that's my view, at least on this one. Now we do have the other one, which is just a standard Moonman fine, okay, in number 8. Let's see how this one performs. So this is the MAJOHN P141 with the standard fine Moonman. Now, despite all the efforts, it's scratchy. It's stiff, very stiff, and I have had a hard time tuning it. It now at least gives me a little more ink, to the point where you can see if I push it, it gives me more ink, I would say, than the regular one. But it's just not perfect. And it just, right here, I'm having a hard time just sanding it down. It just doesn't, and it's scratchy. The nib, something wrong with this nib at the end of the day, which is too bad, because I did manage to get the flow out of it, as you can see, but it's still a work in progress. And let me tell you, I spent a lot of time on this nib. May have to get a Nibmeister, take a look at it, and find solutions for it. But that same P140 one does come. Does this right? I'm not sure. Let's just see. Yeah, as you can see, it comes with the Sun Expedition nib, and this one has never had any problems right out of the box. These nibs are fabulous. And as I say, the fine nib is on its way, so as soon as it gets here, we'll add it on to this segment. I did want to show you the Bach nib that I got from with one of my MAJOHN pens. A disaster, folks. This is the Bach number 8 fine nib. Here again, it took a lot of work to get it to write just the way it writes now. It is extremely stiff, very dry. As you can see, scratchy. So not a great success, this one here. And I, again, spent some time trying to get it. At least it's writing, because when it came out of the box, it was a complete disaster. But as you can see, it's a very dry nib. I just don't like the flow. It's scratchy. It's the wrong type of feedback, if you will, unlike the Sun Expedition nib. Okay, so I'm kind of interrupting the video. I mentioned earlier in the video that I was missing the MAJOHN number 8 Sun Expedition fine nib. I had the medium, but I don't have the fine. And I ordered it, and it just came in. So I'm going to splice in this segment of the video just to show you what the fine does. And I just tested it earlier. I think it's worthwhile having waited a little bit and having inserted this part of the video in my overall review. So this is the MAJOHN Sun Expedition nib. And it's the fine. The reason why I say that it's worthwhile is that this fine nib is a little bouncier, so it's got some bounce, much more than the medium nib does, in my view. I'll show it to you in a second. Let me just see if I could just, yeah. Take a look at this. See that? It's really bouncy. And it gives me some surprising line variation that I don't have in the medium. Now, I still like the medium, but this nib is not a typical fine nib. I would say it's more of a fine medium or medium fine. So, did want to show you that. It was worth my while, and it was worth the, what is it, roughly $15 to $20 that it cost me to get this nib. Very nice. And some of you might actually prefer the fine over the medium. So there you have it. So there you have MAJOHN number 8 Sun Expedition nib, folks. Stay away from the other one. I say if you have a choice, I think the Sun Expedition nib is the nib to go with. Be right back with the next brand. Okay, so the next on my list are the Wing Sungs, if you will. Now, Wing Sung doesn't have many models with that number 8 nib. I think it's the only model that they have is the 630, and the 630 comes in what I would say a classic cigar shaped or in a flat top. The classic cigar is more like the Sailor King of Pen with the cigar shaped. And the flat top is the Sailor King of Pen flat top, version of that King of Pen, if you will. It is, in terms of pricing, roughly between $43 and $46 Canadian. And again, it varies from vendor to vendor and, from week to week, I would say to you. I have this other pen here, and I'm going to talk about it in a second. Here are the Wing Sung nibs, just to show you a close-up of the nibs. Of course, these are all fine. This is the flat top 630, and these two are just cigar-shaped 630s. A little bit of a different color. There's kind of a rose gold here, and the rest are dew-toned. And of course, I just want to show you the 930, which is that number 9 size nib. It's not in the picture, but I thought I'd add it in just for added pleasure. There you go. These are the Wing Sung pens. Now, given that they all have the same nib, I'm not going to, maybe I'll just show you two out of the four that I have here, just to show you how consistent or lack thereof they may be. By the way, they're pistons and they have ink windows of various designs. Some of them are that ribbed or ribbed ink window, some of them are just solid, like this one. So this one is the Wingsung, sometimes known as the Junlai 630. It is a fine nib. Now, here's where again I think Wingsung kind of distinguishes itself. It is a lot softer than both the JINHAO and the HONGDIAN. I would say it's softer, and it's a fine that is almost a medium. Very smooth. Just a hint of feedback. The camera is not picking up the thickness as much as I would want to of the, let me just see if I could. Yeah, it's very, very, very wet for a fine. And it's fairly thick line, I think, for a fine nib. Okay? And it does have that just slightly more softness to it. So I would say it's the HONGDIAN is less than the JINHAO, and JINHAO is less than the Wingsung in terms of softness or bouncy bit nib. Not a flex nib, far from it, but very, very interesting. I would say to you, writing experience. Let me just a little bit go out. Yeah, I'll show you this other one. So you can see fairly consistent in terms of from nib to nib and from pen to pen. Very wet for a fine nib. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so that's the Wingsung. Flat top, fairly different. Now, you know, there's this monster, which is a gorgeous pen, but it's a number 9 size nib. So I really can't fill it in there, but I think I would be amiss not to mention it. This is the Junlai, that's me, 930. And with this broad nib, it's silent. It's a silent, smooth gusher. One of the very nice writing experiences, I would say to you. Very, very nice. Very nice. That's the 930, but it is not a number 8 nib. So it's not in the category. It's not in the running, so to speak. So that's it for Wingsung, folks. Give me a second. I'll be back with the next brand. Okay, so the next brand is ASVINE, quickly becoming a real leader, I would say to you, from the Chinese pen market. Lots of pens this year, very nice pens. And here is a sampling of the number 8 nibs that are out there. We'll start with the C2000. That was the first one that came out, the stable wood. And they did have some dry nib issues that they quickly resolved. In fact, this one here, with the other ones, they provided a kind of a gasket at the bottom of the cap that kind of tapped, if you will, a leak in terms of air. And in the new ones, in the new model or the upgraded model, it's manufactured, so it's not something they've added. You can see it's a little better integrated, and from what I understand, it's a much better solution than the other ones. But you have a sampling there of different colors. The stable wood comes in extra fine, fine, medium, and 1.1 stub, and it's about $82 Canadian. You then have the same pen, but in its ebonite version, which is absolutely fabulous. I'm waiting for the price to go down. Right now it's about 120, 125 Canadian dollars to get the brown one and the green one. I think that ebonite and the way they've finished it is just fabulous. Congratulations to ASVINE. Again, extra fine, fine, medium, and 1.1 stub. Then we have our C80, which is a very popular model, and it's only going for about $43 Canadian. It comes in various colors. You just see 3 here. There's several, I believe there are 4 of them. Again, the same nibs, extra fine, fine, medium, and 1.1. Lastly, just came in, which is the V800. I'm waiting for the demo model, but this one is the green model. It comes in 3 solid colors, 2 different types of demo colors, demonstrator clear colors, and 2 clear colors. That is, the one comes with silver trimmings, the other one gold, and then you have kind of 3 demo swirl colored resins. They all have the same nib, extra fine, fine, medium, and 1.1 stub. And this one's going right now for about $45 Canadian. Now, I believe they have silver and gold, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, you can see they have it silver or gold. So what we're going to do is I'm going to choose the different nibs that I have. Give me a second, and we'll be right back with the writing samples. Okay, so here are our ASVINE contestants. You have an extra fine with a C80. We have fine and medium on the C2000 stable wood. And then I've got 3 1.1 stubs, one on the C80, one on the C2000 ebonite, and the latest edition on the V200. Here are our ASVINE contestants. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to be doing some writing with this beautiful ASVINE pen. So the first one I'm going to propose, no, that's the extra fine. No, that's the fine, I should say. This is, I believe, the extra fine. Yeah, this is the extra fine. Let me just give you a little bit of a close-up here so you can appreciate a little more. So this is the ASVINE C80 with the extra fine. Now, the extra fine writes like an extra fine, so it's very surgical and precise, if you know what I mean. It's as smooth as an extra fine would ever get. Does it have some spring in it? Take a look. Yes, it's soft with a little spring to it. Nothing, it's not flex, but as you can see, I can, generate a much thicker line if I push on it. This is no pressure, and this is with pressure. So there you go. So very constant. No hard starts here. Very nice. And the C80, excellent price. So that's the extra fine. I believe that this one is a fine. That's correct. So let's go to the next one. This is the ASVINE. Yeah, much wetter. ASVINE C2000 stable wood. And this is it's the gold plated fine nib. This is very wet. Smooth. I mean, just listen. I mean, this is one of the, I would say one of the more silent fine nibs that I have in my collection, and it's very, very wet. Is it springy? I would say it's even springier than the other ones. Does it give me much line variation? Perhaps not. I mean, this is no pressure. This is pressure. As you can see, there's a lot more ink that comes out when you can't push it a little bit. So it's got that nice softness to it. Resembling, I hate to say it, but it resembles very much a gold nib. Now, I have to find the medium from all this. Okay, this is the medium. So this is the ASVINE C80 green, and this has the medium nib. Very, very wet. Does it have a spring? Yeah, not bad. I mean, it goes down to a broad, smooth, very quiet, hardly any feedback. And even when I cross, can hardly hear the nib. So beautiful on the C80. That's the medium. And then what I would say to you is the pièce de résistance. And let me just go to the next page, which is my favorite number 8 sized ASVINE nib, which is the 1.1. I'm going to show you two. One which is a little bit of a freak, I think, and one which is more representative of what the ASVINE nibs, how they write. This is the ASVINE C2000 Ebonite, and that nib is a 1.1 stub, but because the tines are slightly off, I love this way this pen ends up writing. And let me just explain to you. So this is the ASVINE C2000 Ebonite, and it's got the gold-plated .1 stub. It obviously has great line variation. It's a stub. It's very wet, gusher, smooth. But listen, it has what I would say to you, oh, sorry about that, I've been off that camera. What I would say to you, it has sailor-like pencil feedback. Just because I've got a feeling that the tines are just slightly off and it gives you that texture. Whereas a normal 1.1 or normal, just a standard 1.1 that doesn't have that little bit of a tweak in it, and it's all by accident, I would imagine, not by design, I don't think, anyway. This is the this is silent. So unlike the other 1.1 stub, this is completely silent. Just beautiful. Very nice. Very constant. So that's, a well-tuned, I would say to you, 1.1 stub. So that, gentlemen and ladies, takes care of what I think is just an absolutely gorgeous lineup from ASVINE with that number 8 steel nib. Be right back with the next brands. Okay, so this is what I would term kind of a, miscellaneous category in terms of brands because I don't have several of each. Okay, so this is the, if you will, non-Chinese category. Well, not really. Actually, just kind of miscellaneous category. You starting off with the Leonardo here with the Momento Zero Grande in ebonite. You have the Gravitas Monster. You have the Magna Carta M800. You have a Mont Blanc 149 fake, which has this generic nib. And then, of course, I wanted to show you the Bach nib, which is a number 8 unbranded Bach nib. So there you have it in the miscellaneous category, if you will. They are pens to be reckoned with, I can tell you that. The first, let me just straighten that out. Okay. The first is this Gravitas Monster. This is in the silver aluminum finish. And to top it all off, it has a Gravitas. Now, I don't know where they get their nibs. Some people have suggested they are Bach nibs. If they are, they've done something absolutely fabulous to it. Gravitas broad nib. This is an extremely wet gusher in my view. Extremely soft. No, not soft, smooth. Very, very, very most constant. Doesn't skip a beat. And absolutely silent. There's no feedback here. Now, does it have a spring to it? A little bit. Just a touch. But the stiffness of the nib is covered by the flow and smooth character of the nib. So you feel like you're gliding on air, and it feels soft when the nib is not that soft. It's just so wet, okay? So very, very nice. Excellent writing experience. A little slippery here. Kind of gets, you know, at the beginning you can see I struggled here and then you get used to it, and as you get used to it, it just becomes a great, great writing experience. So that's the Gravitas Monster. I then have the Magna Carta. This is a medium. Or is it broad? I believe it's a medium. Yeah. So this is the Magna Carta. M800 with that medium nib. Now, in terms of just a touch, it's fairly stiff, I would say to you, but very, very, very smooth. It's also very wet and most constant. Now, does it have a little bit of line variation? You can push it a little bit, but by far, it's a very rigid nib. Again, once again, just disguised because of the flow and the smooth nature of that nib. It feels softer than it actually is. So, again, hats off to Magna Carta. Now, next on my list is what I would say, this is a Mont Blanc fake. Fake because they actually reproduced the logo up there, which is unfortunate. And you know, the nib is kind of decorated in a very similar fashion to Mont Blanc 149. So this is, I would call it the MB 149, and it's a fake. Now, it's not a counterfeit. In other words, I didn't buy it because it was being sold as a 149. It was being sold as a fake of a 149, but it's just too much of a fake, if you know what I mean. It's not inspired at all. It's a reproduction. And this is a fine nib. And it writes like a real fine. But smooth. Fairly wet. Very little feedback. So I don't know who makes this nib, but it's excellent. I have a funny suspicion that it's a JINHAO nib. It just feels that way. It's kind of rigid. And I would say it equals JINHAO fine. But otherwise, very nice writing experience. And you know, I haven't written with most of these pens for some time, and they all write right out of the box. No major, you know, somersaults to be done with any of them. Let me just use this bottom part here to complete the miscellaneous category with this Leonardo. Now I hope I have enough ink in here. Leonardo number 8 steel branded nib. Again, they really look like Bach nibs, but they've done something to them. So let me just get rid of that. Okay, here we go. This is the Leonardo Officina Italiana. This is a Momento Zero Grande 2.0 ebonite. It is a fine nib, and it's very smooth, but with good feedback. What I mean by good feedback, it's a little bit like Sailor. It gives you that sense of you're writing with a steel instrument, okay? So it gives you that scribing feel without being sticky, not sticky, as opposed to the HONGDIAN nib, for example. It's free flow. It's very wet. And makes it a very interesting choice, in my view. Is it springy? Here you go. It's fairly stiff. But given the flow, again, it feels softer than it actually is. So there you have it. That's the Leonardo Officina Italiana, which kind of rounds up this miscellaneous category. And that's it. That's it, folks. In terms of giving you a perspective of all the number 8 steel nibs that I own. And there may be others out there, but I'm not aware of any. And certainly I don't own any. So I had to make do with what I had. What I propose next is that I'm going to give you my palmarès. In other words, I'm going to rank them all and give you my sense of what I believe are my, going from the last to number 1. Just in a minute. I'm going to gather my thoughts and be right back. Okay, so we're back. And of course, this is very subjective. And from all of the pens that we've tried, here are my top 10. And we'll start with number 10 and move towards number 1 and finally my winner. Number 10. Is the standard Moonman fine nib. Just because it's not smooth enough, in my view, it's a little scratchy. Number 9 is the HONGDIAN fine nib in the silver edition, or silver plated, not the gold. Gold is even stiffer and drier. Number 8, and I hate to put it in the list, but it does perform fairly nicely, is the MB 149, and I put fake with the fine nib, just because it is so smooth for a fine nib. The next would be my medium sword 1935. So number 7 is the JINHAO 1935 sword medium nib. Just because it appears anyway to have a little more softness, a little more springy, bouncy than the other JINHAO nibs. I'm not going to put in the stub or, the modified grinds just because it wouldn't be fair. Okay. The next one would be number 6. Would be this Magna Carta. Medium nib. Just because of how smooth this nib writes, despite it being fairly rigid. Number 5 is this Wing Sung fine nib. And the reason why I've chosen it over the others here is just because it does give me a little more bounce. And fairly smooth for a fine nib. Next, number 4. Is the MAJOHN Sun Expedition nib. Medium. Very nice. Got a little bit of a spring, writes very nicely, and writes a good medium line. Number 3 is this Leonardo fine nib. And I would say to you that it's amongst my best fine nib. Not the best number 8 size nib, but the best fine nib that I own in my collection. The best number 8 fine nib in my collection. Number 2. It's this ASVINE, believe it or not, folks, 1.1 stub. Great line, it gives you some thickness and it gives you some very light or narrower lines. I think overall very, very nice. That's number 2. But my number 1 is, in my mind, a clear winner, is this GRAVITAS Monster. Broad nib. I mean, I just can't get over how smooth a writing experience that this pen gives me. So that in a nutshell, let me just set all this up for a nice shot. Oh, one second. We're going to just set it up, and I'll be right back with you. There we go. So you can see them all here. Those in my mind are the top 10 number 8 sized nibs. Very difficult to beat. I've got to tell you, very difficult to beat. And you know what? I think we've uncovered a new trend, which I hope will continue. And it just makes writing so much more pleasant. And these are, you know, some more expensive than others. But in terms of steel nibs, these are it, folks. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know, what are your top number 10 or your top 10 or your top number 8 steel nibs? Let me know. What am I missing? I'd love to know which ones I'm missing so I can add them to my collection. And, you know, we can never have enough well-priced number 8 steel nibs, I find. They're not as expensive as titanium and gold, certainly not as expensive as gold, far from it. And it makes pens enjoyable. And, you know, this thing is almost grail-like, and it has a steel nib. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know in your comments what your favorites are, and we can share that, and maybe I'll take a poll and see where we all stand on this issue. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care, enjoy your number 8 steel nibs, and have lots of fountain pen therapy. Ciao.